Is it okay with you?
Got it.
Good evening. This is the Year Now videocast, and we're back after a little bit of a break. And my first guest on today's show is Nada Mesqui from Croatia, who's got a wonderful story to tell about her journey into coaching, somatics, the Raindrop Movement, which she's created, and the impact she's not hoping, she is bringing to anyone and everyone around her, right, Nada?
Oh, that's a beautiful introduction. Yes, thank you very much. So happy to be here.
Thank you for joining me and accepting my invitation. And I guess I'll ask you, why this journey? How did it start? What guided you on to the journey of healing and somatics and coaching and changing the world more than anything else, right?
Sounds so big.
It is.
It
It is.
is. Yeah, I don't think there is one specific um, moment in my life that I can pinpoint as crucial for me being where I am. I think it was a series of events of following my intuition, following my trust, following what felt right in my own gut. And I've done that since the very, very early age. Like ever since I remember, I had such a strong connection to that part of myself and to that part of the universe. Like I always felt that there was something so much more than just us in this world. And I remember, even if I was not raised in a religious family, I
Yes.
remember praying to God, praying to angels, seeing them, feeling them around me, and really, really being guided, being guided on this life journey. And so my path was really, really exciting with lots of events, starting like with the Yugoslavian war as a little child, which now, of course, brings so many memories with what's happening in the world and feels very resonant for me as well. But so very early on, understanding that this is not why we are here. We're not here to fight. We're not here to underline our separations and what makes us different. We are here to see how we are together, how we are same, how we are all one. And so, sort of really escaping from that kind of toxic environment and toxic reality as soon as I could. And that path led me to Italy, where I studied communications because I was so convinced that if I can just help people communicate better, everything would be all right.
Why do you sound unconvinced by what you were convinced once by?
That's a beautiful question. I think there's definitely value in that, and I still do dedicate a huge portion of my work to that part, to effective and heartfelt communication. However, there's so much more that we need to do. Like those words need to resonate and be connected to something deeper in us. They need to be true to our thoughts and to our emotions and to what our energy is. So that part of just doing the cognitive intellectual work no longer resonates with me, because I know that there is a somatic imprint, an emotional imprint, a mental imprint
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
every word that we speak out.
And I know we're moving on through your life's journey. Is it okay if I take you a moment backwards? Because there was something you said that I felt very powerful, and it was the feeling of being called. The early, I don't know how early that was for you, but this feeling of being guided.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm intrigued by that because I feel there is a lot of that happening to many of us, but because we're so disconnected from the spiritual realm, we almost laugh that off to a degree.
Yes.
And I don't know if you're okay with just spending a minute expanding on that, however deep you want to go or not. But I feel the way the world is going, I need more of that awareness that if you're feeling something, a calling, it's important to honor that rather than intellectualize it and then suppress it because you're supposed to follow the system from education to government to whatever system that is causing people to close that part of the human being, the soul, the energy, right? Is it okay for you to share if you
Yes,
want?
of course. So it's very interesting because when I became a mother, I had this whole journey of remembering things from my early childhood that I have completely suppressed. Part of the reason why I have suppressed those memories that I will talk about in a minute is because they scared me. They scared me mainly because I felt like I couldn't share it with anybody. So there was this assumption very early on that it wasn't safe for me to talk about spirits or angels or energies that were surrounding me. And so I felt like I was all alone in this and I needed to somehow, make it go away on my own as well. And then when I became a mother, I saw my firstborn going through those same things, feeling energies the moment that we would walk into a room, having nightmares because he felt presence of something that he couldn't even articulate or name, right? And it was all coming back to me, and it was such a beautiful opportunity first for me to heal that inner child in me
Oh, absolutely.
that felt unsafe with these gifts,
Mhm.
and then to actually help guide him through it. Because ultimately I believe we are all born with it. We are born as a spiritual being in a human body, and we are born with all of those beautiful channels to the divine in us, to the divine outside of us, wide open and available. And like you said, if we are in a context, in a surrounding that simply shuts that down, we start making fun of it and start just taking it like not real. And so that's kind of what happened to me. And
Did you ever feel strange, like weird, and like you said, you couldn't talk about it? What did that? Did you keep that with you for a long time? When did you embrace this part of you that I?
I was always in a strange dance with it. So I always felt like this is real for myself,
Mhm.
and I felt a strong judgment on the outside when I did try to talk about it. I was very lucky that I had, a few people in my life who were holding me in it, even though if they themselves didn't necessarily believe a world that I was saying, but you know, um, they were loving enough to allow me to express and to allow me to share those things with them, and I think that was so crucial. But then I had a few moments with energies that my mind interpreted as negative, that were really scary, where I remember just praying to God to make it go away. Whatever I'm seeing, whatever I'm sensing, just make it go away. I don't want this. And then it did. For a big portion of my life, I think I was probably around 18 or 19 when it just intensified a lot, and I felt like my system was not ready.
Okay.
My mental body was not ready. And with a lot of persistent prayer, it literally stopped one day. Strangely enough, that's also where my life took a turn towards values that are not at all mine. Like achievement, like money, like titles and status, right? Um, and it took me quite some time to get back on track. I want to say the entire period of my 20s was me getting back on track. and finding my own spiritual path again. And then, of course, like I mentioned, becoming a mom was just a portal to remembering and back to self in so many different ways.
It's something you say when you're explaining that so beautifully. It's we spoke in the beginning before we came online on air, and we were talking about pujas, right? And you said
Mhm.
you host some, right? And
Yes,
I
yes.
attended my first one last week Friday, and what do you call the people that? What do you call you guys that run a puja?
I don't run them, I just do them for myself.
Okay. So I attended a ritual, and the people that do the fire and do the chanting, I don't know what they call, really amazing people, but they were talking about when the body is telling you, or the soul is telling you through the body that you're on an inauthentic path. And you triggered that awareness in me when you said you turned down the spiritual dial, almost switching it off, and then your body started falling apart. That was inauthentic to the point where you're like, those are not even my values.
Yes.
Was there conflict created in you in those times, or were you in resistance to some degree? What did it create when you
I
have this path and you turn it off, and then you go this one,
Beautiful,
which is not?
beautiful question. Honestly, life was just hard. Life in that state of disalignment for
Hmm.
myself was hard.
Okay.
Everything came hard. Relationships were hard. Work was hard. My well being, physical state was hard. There was like all kinds of small little illnesses and dis-ease in my body, which was strange. Which was strange. First of all, I was in my 20s, in the peak of my health,
Yes.
but also I didn't experience that before. What I was living in before was a state of complete flow where I would just imagine something and like 2 months after it will be manifested. And now all of a sudden it was hard and it was sticky and it was like I was walking through mud every single day. So of course, when you do that for a long period of time, you come to complete of chronic exhaustion or even burnout, and that's exactly what happened to me.
And you mentioned burnout and the body saying that it's enough, because the lady who ran the puja, there was a mom and daughter, and she said exactly the same thing. She went into burnout because she was following the body and the soul was saying, no, this is not for you. So she was almost crippling herself into work because she felt that society, with the conditioning we have, that you got to keep going. And it was almost shutting it down. And then you echoed the same thing. So what is it with that awareness, Nada, just staying a little bit more longer in the you, the part that made you? What is it that you see now that, not that you could do different because you can't change the past, but you, with hindsight, do you feel, to anybody watching this, watch out for this, if you feel this, if you see this, don't turn the volume down, whatever it is for you. What is what could you give to say yourself looking back?
Hmm, that's a beautiful question. Well, I think number one that I wish somebody could, say to me was everything that you're feeling is a gift. Everything that you're feeling, everything that you're able to sense is a gift. Even if it in a moment brings you pain, it's a portal to something beautiful. And it would have been helpful in that moment to know that, because maybe I could have asked for help. Maybe already then I could have found a guide of some kind or a coach or mentor to help me figure it out before I turn my back to that inner voice and to that inner wisdom completely. But at the moment where I did, I would just say, when life feels hard, that's a clear sign you're not on your path. Because what I know of this life is that we are here to shine. We are here to enjoy. We are here to live freely. We are here to express fully. It's not meant to be hard. Yet we are conditioned and bombarded with the stories that life is hard, marriage is hard, relationships are hard, success is hard. This is all bullshit. None of it is supposed to be hard. When you are aligned, when you are on your path, when you follow what gives you joy, what makes you excited to get out of bed, life is the most beautiful dance one can ever be in.
Great. That's very inspiring.
Right.
With that wonderful awareness, how do you change tracks if it's hard? Which I think many of us can say to some degree is hard. What would be the switch as the train tracks? You pull the lever and then all of a sudden the forks come and you can change tracks, because somehow we're conditioned from so young that it's hard work, it's stress, it's fight. What would you say is a little gentle nudge to the other track where it becomes a bit more easier?
I'm going to share a very, very deep, sophisticated spiritual advice that one of my spiritual teachers gave to me. And it's, quote, "When in doubt, chill the fuck out." Meaning, when you feel conflicted, when you feel that there's hardship, struggle, internal or external of some kind, pause. Everything that you can, just put it on stop and come to stillness. Whatever that looks like to you, whether it's spending an hour meditating, whether it's praying, whether it's dancing, whether it's just taking a day off to be with yourself, but really be with yourself, not again get distracted with so many things that we get distracted with. Just come back to stillness, because that's where all the knowing comes from. That's where all the real action comes from. It often comes from the stillest part in you, not from the most action driven
Yeah. That's
active.
often a distraction from the internal reality, right? More often than not.
Yeah, I just don't think we spend enough time with ourselves in general. So
And it's a
that would
beautiful.
be an invitation.
Well, it's a scary thing if you've never done it and you don't like what you see, you don't like what you feel inside you. The last thing you want to do is go into the abyss and sit there and play around. That's why we avoid it so much. Would you say?
Yes, totally, totally. And I see this a lot in the raindrop movement, because when people come to it in the beginning, every time they really sit and connect with themselves, a lot of murky stuff comes up. A lot of uncomfortable, unpleasant emotion shows up that wants to be released. And they often ask me, like, does this ever stop? Like, will I ever connect with myself and feel joy and feel enlightened and feel, love and light? And yes, of course you will, when what needs to be released is released. Because, like you said, when we begin spending time with ourselves, it usually is not nice and pleasant and rainbows and unicorns. It usually is like you're just jumping in the middle of a dark well. And you're looking around like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And that's a part of this path. It's just a part of it. And when you can find safe containers and safe wells to be with, guided by other people who are on the same path with you, it is doable, it is possible, and there is even joy in it.
And I love the part about joy, and something that I don't know how, I'd like to know how you feel about this. We so often separate the two spectrums of pain and love, right? So all the elements associated with love, be it joy, happiness, gratitude, all that, we seem somehow to dissociate in the body that I shouldn't feel this and I should only feel this. I mean, create that conflict, right? If I'm not happy, then I'm sad. And if I'm sad, that's bad. Then what do I need to do to make me happy? But when we use the elements like love and joy and gratitude, in the well that you spoke about, it doesn't light up the well, but it just makes the well less intimidating, right?
Yes.
I don't know, because you used the well analogy and I loved it. And then the joy part, I'm under the belief, under the impression, and I'd like you to say how you feel, that the surest way to heal that pain, that fear, that darkness is with the light, right?
Mm.
But loving yourself when you're in the dark is so difficult, right? Because we kind of hate
Yes.
ourselves when we're in the dark, right? Why they don't want to be there, firstly, so like get me out. Or it's like, well, I'm such an ugly person because my darkness, whatever form that comes in for each one of us, is so bad. And then we go into more of the darkness. And then,
Yeah.
and how do you, I mean, in your approach to, I'd love to hear about the Raindrop Movement, and we'll come to that in a minute. But just you in your evolution, how did you integrate those two? Because I feel, and please tell me if I'm wrong, that you've integrated them, which is when the flow was switched off in your teens to the conflict years of your 20s to the enlightenment years of your 30s when your first child came. There's a meshing, there's a symbiotic bringing together of those two. Otherwise, I don't feel you can ever be in any form of peace. As long as you're separating them, you have. So I could. Sorry, my question is very big. Is it okay? I didn't drop it down.
Totally. Love it. I
I'm trying
love
to.
it.
I'm trying to bottom line. Yeah, I ran away with the question. So pick it up any way you want. So.
Well, what I think I've learned is that pain and pain and pleasure. Pleasure, to me, it can be also interpreted as joy, like finding joy, finding pleasure, something that you actually enjoy, right? They are just two sides of the same coin. They are not, I don't see them as dualities. I see them as equal equal opportunities to enlightenment. I think when we start paying attention to the points or triggers that bring us pain, and when we can hold ourselves with compassion and love through them and be curious about them. What is it about this that pains me? What is it about this that I want to avoid? That is such a beautiful opportunity to learn more about ourselves and to love more of ourselves, because it is there, it's triggering to you and not to me. Right?
Yeah.
And it is there for you, not to you. So when we start looking at pain or fear or anything negative, anything that we interpret as negative in our life, as just information of where am I being called to go deeper? Where am I being called to expand? That gives us a more empowering way of going about it and going towards it rather than running away from it. Because running away is just, I don't know, maybe it works for you. It never worked for me.
I have this saying, wherever you go, there you are. So you can keep running, but whatever you're running from, it just follows you to wherever you are, right? So
Exactly.
I love
Yeah.
what you're saying. That running, it's superficial. It's just wherever you go, you're gonna find what you're trying to avoid because it stays in you, right?
Exactly. That's why we find ourselves in patterns, right? Patterns repeat until you learn the freaking lesson that you're here to learn. The life will keep showing you same people, same situations, same challenges until you stop and say, okay, what am I not seeing? What am I refusing to look at?
You feel that it is, I believe it is. I would like to either contest this or you can agree. It is a conscious choice. Maybe not conscious, but subconscious choice. So it's still a choice that we choose to stay in these patterns. Or do you
Yes,
feel we have no control?
I
You feel they repeat, or we can choose to change them, and we choose not to change them, or we don't have a choice.
that is such a great question. Honestly, what I see is that when we are in a state of repeating the patterns, we are not in a state of consciousness, because the one of the reasons why we are repeating them is because we are unable to observe ourselves repeating them. We don't see it. the moment that we see it, that's the moment that we are at choice. The moment that we can see, oh, this keeps happening. I think that's the moment in which we can go from unconscious to conscious. And when we are conscious, then we are at choice. That is what comes through in this moment.
Okay. I like that. I agree with you on that one. It just leaves the conundrum of what does it take to wake up, to become conscious, to realize you have a choice.
From what I see and from what I know in personal experience, you need to really become frustrated with what's happening in your life. Like there's a moment, there's a heaviness,
Yes.
there's a level of frustration that needs to be present for somebody to say, okay, when do I stop? When does this stop? Something needs to change. Right?
Okay. And that trigger, I guess, for everybody is different, right? Some it can be the last
Exactly.
minute of your life, some it's early in your early years, and others at some usually tragic point, and maybe not, maybe not even. Yeah. And so, Nada, I love the foundation of you, the making of you. What do you want to use this for? What's your vision for the future?
My vision is to bring healing to the world. Like you said in the beginning, and I laughed because it sounds so big, but it is big. And I'm totally owning that.
Finally, I'm glad.
Yeah,
you
finally,
know,
and in the most humble of ways, knowing that it's not really about me. It is about me being an open vessel to, whatever healing comes through me. And in this phase of my life, a lot of it is coming through Raindrop Movement, and sometimes through my one-on-one coaching when I allow myself to really be completely detached and open to that. And what's really, really magical about every channeler in this world, right? I'm not unique, and there's so many light workers now that are just stepping forward and owning that voice more and more, is that there is so much lightness that comes from knowing and accepting that it is truly not about you. It is truly about something so much greater, and something that needs no control, needs no structures, needs no parameters. All that is needed is that you take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, that you stay, light and open for that wisdom, for that healing to come through.
balance between asking the next question relating to that and actually challenging you in your humbling of yourself in your work. Well, which way should we go? Confused. Because I'm like, what is she doing? I don't get it. Maybe for those watching, it's important that we do question ourselves. So maybe I could question you directly if you want, or we can question what you said. How should we do this?
I would love to take on a challenge of being questioned directly. I find that that's more
Okay.
what.
I'm so glad you said that. I was hoping you'd say that, because I'm like, okay, Nada, so this is what I'm feeling a downplay on your journey, because it is big and it's only about you, because what you're doing for you, how you're talking just in our little interaction is phenomenal, Nada. And if you don't see that as the priority and the main goal, that you become the biggest light you can, because that's the only way we can light up the darkness, then you're doing a disservice to you, I feel. And please challenge me on this, okay?
I will not, because I totally agree with that part. So, like I said, my job is to keep my light shining.
But that's
That
the only job we have. And you're
my
doing a great
job.
job at it. The brighter you become. And this I feel from my journey, right? Which is what I was trying to see if there's a resonance. The more loving I become of the things I never liked, the easier I can connect. I'm finding in my work, I can do my form of healing easier because I'm not in so much resistance with me. And I feel that
Totally.
from you. And this is why I was like, what? I don't get it. Why is she's doing phenomenal work, and it is a huge job, and she is unique. So why?
Oh, I was not. I'm happy that you point this out because that was not my intention. My intention was not to say that I'm not unique. My intention was not to say that what I do is not unique and that the mission of keeping my light bright is not a big mission. It is, 100% it is. And it's a lifetime mission, right? Um, I guess what I meant is when we open ourselves to that, when we come to full acceptance of that, and that in all transparency just happened for me last year. Like there was such a pivotal, big aha moment opening in which I again really saw what is possible and what is given to me. But that when you see that it is given to you, when you see that there is a celestial being next to you dancing and literally spreading healing drops on each and every participant with you, you see it like I see you right now. That's where you also accept it is so much bigger than me. Yes, I needed to do the work to get in the state where I'm able to receive this. And now it's about maintaining that work. And it's about keeping receiving it.
I like that. The reason I challenged you because I feel so many people downplay their purpose on this planet.
Yes, it's
It's
true.
about everyone else. It's I'm not important enough. I will just keep giving, and giving is beautiful because there's nothing more important than love, sharing, kindness, empathy. But if you don't recognize that it starts with you, and you got to be just as important as the next person,
Totally,
and
yes.
I'm sure there'll be a huge influence from what you're saying. And I would like people, I don't know if it's your message, but through you to realize that you are just as important as the mission, whatever that might be, your
Yes.
partner, your kids, your profession, if you're a coach, a psychologist, a healer, you need that too to see yourself just as much, which I feel is there, right? Um,
Yes, I got goosebumps right now. You are just as important as your mission. Totally. You
Otherwise,
are.
you forget yourself, and then you end up feeling purposeless because you're not nourishing yourself too, right? I don't know how you feel about that.
Yes. Very, very, very much so. And even worse, you can resent it and
Exactly,
resent yourself.
exactly,
Right?
right?
So it's very important to put yourself up front and center throughout.
Wasn't too tough a challenge, right? You're still here. I thought you'd just put the screen off and like, oh, where did she go? Then I'd have to finish on my own. So thank you for still staying on the line.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nada, would you like to share a little bit with us? Not a little bit, but a lot, as much as you want, about the raindrop movement. What
Yeah.
is it, and what is it you're bringing with it?
Yes. So 3 years ago, I was on this beautiful, beautiful spiritual leadership spiritual journey. And the whole purpose of that journey, which is a 10-month-old journey, was to really discover what is your purpose in this life? Like, what is your big mission? And at the end of that journey, I had a clear download that I'm here to bring healing through the power of intuitive movement. It literally came down like that. That's what it is. It's going to be called Raindrop Movement. These are the steps to it. This is the method for it. Now practice it and let us deliver the rest. And at that moment, when you are so, how do I say this? When there is a truth and a knowing that feels more like remembering than like new
Oh,
information.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It feels like, of course. Of course, this is why I'm here. It was always there in some shape or form, lurking, giving me, an opportunity, giving me a door, and I just wasn't ready. So, of course, this is coming, and of course, it is what it is. Um, you almost feel, well, this was my process at least. I don't want to condition. I felt in that moment like I didn't have a choice but to do it. I didn't have a choice because whatever I chose to do instead of it was hurting me again, was causing me emotional, mental, physical pain. And I did try because I'm a pretty hard-headed nuts. I can tell you that in these 3 years I was in it and then I was out of it and then I was in it again and then I was out of it again. Like I was really testing it and myself and my role in it in such a big way. And then, like I said, last year there was this like real spiritual awakening event that made it just clear. Just surrender. Surrender.
Sounds so simple. Like, just, I mean, it takes power to
Like that.
surrender, right? It
Just
takes effort to
surrender.
surrender. Like, surrender means let go, but you need power to do that. It's like such a contradiction, right? Yeah, just
Exactly.
surrender.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I'm
Yes.
scared. I need to let go. But it takes a lot of
Yes.
energy.
Yes. It does, and it did. It does, and it did. Honestly, it did. And then, at one point again, I felt, well, I could keep fighting it, or I can keep trying hard to figure it out, or I can really let go and trust that it will come because it did come and it will keep coming. And that requires, again, stillness. That requires, for me, a lot of prayer and communicating with, that divine source in me and outside of me, and really being devoted to that practice, which is Raindrop Movement, because when I am devoted to it, the downloads come, the answers are right there. When I step away from it and I try to fake it, no,
Yeah, resistance.
it doesn't work at
Yeah.
all. So it's a beautiful, beautiful practice that has kind of shaped itself. I feel like I am definitely, my role in it is to be its guardian and its channel. And what I mean by guardian is I am here to manifest it in this world. I am here to bring it, to give it structure, to give it space in this world. And I am also here to help others benefit from it, right? Where this will take me, I kind of have a feeling. I have a feeling that, this will be really a worldwide practice where people can join and come from whatever paths of life they are on and just enjoy a moment of feeling connected to the divine in them and to the divine outside of them. Enjoy the community of people that are all there for the same reason, and really, really start listening, because that's what this whole thing is about, right? Listening to that inner voice, listening to ourselves, and taking a moment to come back to it, because we are so stuck in here and out there that we need whatever practices we can find to take us back on what really matters.
What a lovely vision and what a lovely insight into the Raindrop Movement. And I will put all your details up after this when I do put this out there. So anybody's interested and wants to know more, they'll be able to reach you by any way, shape, or form. I was going to ask you, with this movement, what is your biggest fear? What is your fear that you have within you that you would say, if this was gone, I wouldn't say, I would be more bold in what I'm bringing. Is there something that you feel holds you back a little bit? Some doubt, some...
Not really. The moment that you said fear, there was nothing,
Wow, that's phenomenal.
really nothing. And I wouldn't have said that not even a year ago. So something definitely shifted in me recently, where I feel like I am in a state of full permission. I feel like I'm in a state of full freedom. And there's less and less ego, because it's usually our ego that holds us back, right? um, there's really, like, it comes up here and there, but I honestly cannot think of anything.
And that's all that's important. If there's nothing coming up, there's nothing. Because the minute we go into the head, we start maybe creating something, right? If your gut and your intuition is telling you, I'm good, it's important to trust that, right? That's a
Yeah,
great,
I'm
great
good.
answer.
It's so good to be good, right? Yes.
Isn't it just? And we think it's so impossible because somehow something has to be bad, otherwise we're not good.
Mm, yeah.
And where does the goodness come from, Nada? Just a little bit more insight on you before I have these last two powerful questions that I always say for the end. But where does the goodness come from? What would you say is your source of being good?
Oh my God, so much. Honestly, like, goodness for me comes from the incredible union that I have with my husband.
Right.
Like, that is honestly the source of immense strength, immense trust, immense empowerment for me. The incredible human beings that we're raising together, that I get to wake up and watch do this life with me. Just thinking about that. The incredible life that we are creating together as a little tribe, as a family, the incredible people that are in my life, whether they're coaches or mentors or guides or clients, that just kind of find me through the law of attraction or energy or whatever you want to call it, and that keep coming as beautiful reminders that what you do matters, what you bring matters, and just keep trusting that and keep going. Nature, being outside and looking at the sky and looking at the tree and sometimes hugging them, and my son's telling me, "Mommy, you're cuckoo."
I did it this morning, sorry, for the first time in a while. It was like, okay, that's not so bad.
Right? Going into the ocean. Oh, life. Life gives me goodness.
But what is it that makes you see life the way you just described it?
Hmm.
What's the source of the beautiful perception that you're having to inspire others? I'm not. It's the influence I feel you will have that I'm hoping to get others to tap into their own.
When you ask me that question, the first thing that comes is knowing that I have created that.
All that you just described.
Yes.
Okay.
Knowing that every step of this goodness that I've just described was my conscious choice. Nothing happened by an accident. Every part of it, I have completely designed and created for myself. And that knowing gives me such immense sense of empowerment and trust that I can create anything. And I really do believe that
I
we
love
can
that. I
all create anything.
absolutely. That's the tragedy on that is we feel that because we are in bad situations and life isn't in flow, that somehow it's not ours either. And sure, bad things happen, but majority of the things that are not good in our lives, we have that power to change it around, right? It might just take a lot of work and effort and support, but I guess your message is nothing that you're facing is not changeable, is not healable, is not transformable. Is that can I take that from that if I wanted
Please,
to
yes, if
go
that's
from
the
a less
only message that comes
yeah
through, let it be this message. And I honestly speak from experience. Like, I was a child in that basement with bombs around me for 7 years. Like, I had all the predisposition to have severe PTSD and be a damaged individual for the rest of my life. And so I'm not saying that because I've had this fluffy lifestyle and everything was handed and given to me. I'm saying that because I know it is true.
Okay, moving. Thank you. I guess I can ask you the next, this question I love. What would, I know it's popular and there's a contrast to it, which will come after, but what would you say to your younger self? As young as you can go, to the little girl who was seeing a war-torn home, to the girl who was playing with the fairies, to whatever age, what would you say to the most vulnerable part of you?
Mm. Trust yourself. Trust. Trust yourself. Trust everything that you feel, everything that you sense, everything that is coming from you. Trust that.
I think you're doing that already as well. So, and what would you say to your future self?
Hmm. Oh, it's so funny. Like, how the moment you ask the question, the answer comes without me even having to reflect on it. So I'm gonna give you the instinctive answer that
That's what
just
we're looking
came
for.
through.
That's the important one, yes.
And it's surprising to me as well because I kind of feel like I am, but clearly not enough. So
Okay.
the very instinctive answer that immediately came through is enjoy more.
Enjoy more. That's very intriguing, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Enjoy more. You know what I make of it, if I'm like to self-coach myself
Oh,
for
go
a
on. And people can use this, right? When you're starting to get these answers, like, ask, coach yourself. What is it that's making me feel this way? Why this answer?
exactly.
You know?
Like what I make of it is um, there's probably more space in my life right now to really bathe in gratitude of what is versus in the excitement and expectation of what will be. And I have a very transparently, like I have this specifically with the raindrop movement. It's very present for me right now because I see what it can be so clearly and it's so resonant. And yet it is not yet that. And so this message of enjoying more to me means just enjoy what it is right now.
Rather than losing the moment and focusing too much on what you want it to be, then you're not even beautiful, right?
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay. What a powerful message. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I had a real aha moment for myself right now.
And then now that just as we're starting to slowly wind down, what would your power message be? You know, for those who need their own inspiration. We know we're living in the world at the moment, and it's in a tough time, depending how you perceive it. I see it as a liberating, enlightening time because a lot of people are doing more than ever. We're talking about different ways of living, spirituality, connecting the self. There's more coaches than ever. Um, but people that are going through darkened times and feel that, you know, when you're in the dark, you can't imagine the light anymore. It can become so dark you don't even believe there's light. And with your history, your childhood, seeing what you saw, going through what you went through, being where you are now, what would your message be to anybody who is in that place you were in as a child? metaphorically or physically, you know?
My message would be that you are never alone. You are never, ever alone. Even when all the circumstances, all the persistent voices, everything is trying to convince you that you are never alone. You're always guided, you are always loved, you are always supported, even when it's almost unimaginable that you are. And so, in those moments, I guess, when you do feel alone, remember that there is somebody in this life experience who is just like you, experiencing similar thoughts, similar state of mind, similar circumstances, and maybe just reach out and ask for help.
That's really nice, really powerful.
So simple, right? It seems so obvious.
But the
And
Buddhist monks teach that nada, don't they?
yeah,
The
exactly.
simplicity is often the root, but because we are so complex as human beings, we're like, no, it can't be that simple. It's got to be complicated. I got to struggle. I got to fight. Otherwise, no, it's just do that. It's not enough, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You've been
Exactly.
phenomenal. You have a lovely energy about you, your vision, your purpose, the Raindrop Movement, your family, your vision. Enjoy more. Enjoy more.
Enjoy more, yes.
And honor yourself a bit more, my dear. I think for all of us, for the people who aren't doing this work, the people who aren't in an enlightened, liberated place, just showing up, in this world is something to be celebrated because there's pain and tragedy everywhere you look. But showing up should be enough of a source of joy to think, you know what, it's really, really shit right now. It can be overwhelming, but just showing up is something to celebrate. So
Beautifully said. Nothing to add. Mic drop. Mm.
thank you so much for being here.
Thank
I
you
will
so
put
much
all
for
your
having
details out, and I wish you all the love and joy and success and being while you're developing you and your Raindrop Movement and everything else around you.
me.
You're a wonderful light for the world. Thank you.
As are you. Thank you for having these conversations with people around the world and for bringing more light through them. Mm.